Penguin Random House Audio presents The Most Dangerous Place on Earth by Lindsey Lee Johnson. Read for you by Cassandra Campbell. The pot at the end of the rainbow is not money. I know because I have it. Marin County woman featured in I Want It All Now, an NBC News special report, 1978. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. John Milton, Paradise Lost. Nobody talks to children. Jim Stark in Rebel Without a Cause. 8th grade. The note. Callie Broderick lingered in the doorway of the resource office, waiting to be noticed. She would have been easy to overlook. She was short and skinny, and her dirty blonde hair had begun that year to wave and shine with oil. Her hazel eyes were pretty, though too wide set, her nose thin but too long. Every 4 weeks, her face produced a constellation of pimples that loomed and gleamed when she turned her cheek to the mirror, disgusting and enthralling her. Her face was a question she considered daily, widening her eyes in the mirror on the inside of her locker, sucking the flesh of her cheeks between her teeth. Her mother said, or used to say, that Callie was striking looking, a description Callie rejected. It was not only vaguely violent sounding, but also patently untrue. She was a restless girl, anxious to rewind her life or jump it forward. In service of the latter goal, she'd made a list of skills to learn before adulthood: how to swallow pills without gagging, to buy tampons without blushing, to shake the hands of her father's friends without giggling and glancing away. But as the years passed, the list only grew longer. Life presented more questions as she lived it, more and more doors to unlock. These questions she didn't share with anyone. She wrote them in a battered journal, then stuffed the journal in a pillowcase and shoved it under her mattress, lest someone, her brother Jake, find it and expose her. She would not even show it to Abigail Kress, her best friend. Prior to Abigail, Callie would have said her best friend was her mother. But that was now impossible for a multitude of reasons too complex to explain. In fact, there was little about her life that Callie Broderick could explain, to herself or to anyone else. She was a girl in middle school. She was 13 years old. The resource office at Valley Middle School was small and dim. The resource teacher, Ms. Flax, had a moral objection to fluorescent lights, preferring to squint in the amber glow of a ceramic lamp, and stank of mold, and of the pesto pasta that steamed at the teacher's elbow as she marked papers at her desk. Ms. Flax, over 30 but under 50, had an apple-shaped body that she wrapped in hippie scarves and tunics and long mud-colored skirts. She was not pretty, Callie decided, but pretty-ish, with featherweight hair and deep brown eyes that turned down at the corners, making her look on the verge of tears even when she laughed. Across from her sat Tristan Block, who flipped through a stack of shiny-colored papers on the desk. He was fat and pale, with blonde hair buzz-cut so close she saw bits of scalp through the glistening bristle. On sunny days at recess, his head would glow as if on fire. Everyone knew that Tristan spent hours in Ms. Flax's office, during homeroom, study hall, sometimes recess and lunch. No one knew what they did in there for all that time. Probably she helped him with his work, but it seemed just as likely that he helped her with hers. "Ms. Flax," Callie said, "I got this note. You wanted to, see me?" Ms. Flax started and looked up. "Oh, yes," she said, shifting her weight, and the chair cushions squeaked and farted beneath her. This embarrassed Callie, and it happened every time. Pushing hair out of her face, Ms. Flax would pretend not to notice the noises as she begged Callie to change her ways, as if Callie's applying herself would determine the course of Ms. Flax's own sad life. "Come in, please. Have a seat." "No, thanks," Callie said. She knew what Ms. Flax was like. To step inside, to sit, was to condemn oneself to an inquisition. "Callie, please." Seeing no way out, Callie relented, stepping into the room and taking the seat next to Tristan Block's. "Mr. Hoyt says you've been copying algebra homework," Ms. Flax said. "You are an extremely bright girl, Callista Broderick. Why would you do this?" "I don't know," Callie said. She looked to see if Tristan was listening, but he did not react. Hunched over the desk, he was folding a sheet of silver paper again and again. All the while, he tongued the corner of his mouth. His white t-shirt was tucked into the oversized sweatpants he wore every day, in colors that seemed chosen to assault the eyes. Apple red, lime green, and even, horror of horrors, yellow. He wore yellow now. Fruit punch stained his thigh. The splash darkened to a sick bluish gray. Callie's mother would have told her it was rude, but she couldn't stop staring at that spot. It was like one of those ink blots psychiatrists showed you to see what kind of crazy you were. Everyone knew that Tristan didn't have a father, only a dumpy mother with his same squinty eyes and an aura of frizzed red hair. She'd find any excuse to come panting through the halls, bringing Tristan homework assignments, sweatshirts, Slurpees. At least once a week, she'd stride into the front office, hot-cheeked, indignant, to yell at Principal Falk about Tristan's special academic accommodations. Then she'd trudge down to the resource room to conspire with Ms. Flax, as if they would be able to turn Tristan into a normal human being just because they wanted to. But Callie knew what Tristan's mother didn't. She was only making his situation worse. She was exactly as weird as her son. What he needed most in life was to get away from her. If Callie did end up motherless, she thought, at least she'd never have to worry about her dad trolling the halls of her school. "This isn't you," Ms. Flax insisted. Callie shrugged. Of course she could do the homework herself. But there were more interesting things in the world. There was her best friend, Abigail, and their afternoons behind closed blinds. There was Ryan Harbinger's body as he stretched to field a ball, and the current that jagged through her in English when he palmed her bare right thigh under the desk, then squeezed it hard enough to bruise, grinning when she screamed. There was sprawling sideways on her bed with her head dangled over the edge, picturing velvety blood as it seeped to the top of her brain. Everything was more interesting than algebra. But she couldn't say that to Ms. Flax, who had probably done all her own school assignments before her teachers even thought of them. And look at where it had gotten her. Stuck in middle school for the rest of her life, with Tristan Block. Tristan's silver paper had transformed into something tiny, sharp, and shining. A spear, a crown. Callie couldn't tell. His eyes narrowed to slits, and his tongue worked its way to his top lip, sucking at it, revealing the pink gloss underneath. "Oh, honey," Ms. Flax said. "Talk to me. How are things at home?" "What?" Heat surged in Callie's chest and face. She felt it making her ugly. Ms. Flax shifted in her chair, began again. "Since your mother has been ill, I know it has been difficult. It's all right to feel sad, even angry. I wish you would share your feelings rather than acting out in this way." Callie thought Abigail was right about Ms. Flax. She made you think she wanted to help, but underneath she was a total bitch. "Just because I don't care about 8th grade math doesn't mean there's a problem," she said. "It's not like it matters. None of this does." Ms. Flax's eyes widened, and for a second it seemed she would cry.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?